I was in Portland 2 days ago, and it was the day that we woke up to the news about Las Vegas. Very heavy and horrible, and certainly that's still present, and I know sitting with all of us. So it's a little weird to be on a book tour talking about my book when the world seems so insane and so violent and so crazy. And I talked about this at Portland too, because my experience was going to bed the night before and reading that a couple people had been shot, or a couple people had been killed, and about 20 injured, and then waking up in the middle of the night and really trying to talk myself out of checking my phone and just wait till morning to find out whatever you're going to find out. And I wasn't successful. I checked my phone and found that the numbers were rising and rising, and I was up a lot of that night. And my thoughts were going back and forth between Las Vegas and just imagining what's happening there and how so many lives were being changed and ended. And then I found myself thinking about my community in Detroit, where I'm living now. Gorn and I are living in an area called Eastern Market, and it's a market that's 150 years old. It's a farmer's market. So it's been serving Detroit for 150 years, and every Saturday, now it's almost 50,000 people come every Saturday to this market from all over the state. And truly, you are seeing people from all walks of life, all colors, all faiths, all everything going on there. And we live a block away from this market, so every Saturday I'm there, getting produce, and there's a woman there, her name's Mary, and she's got a tea stand, and she was telling me how when she was growing up, her father was in the armed services, and he was gone internationally a lot, and would send her tea as a little girl, and she was introduced to tea through her dad, and tea has become a great passion of her life. And so she is sharing the tea as a way to share her love with the world. This is how she expresses herself and what she feels she has to offer, and she offers it beautifully. And there's another woman at a stand who makes these candles, and she's a Wiccan, and she talks about the process of making her candles, and she says that she aligns the candles with the phases of the moon and the planets, so that she ran out of the romance candle once, but Venus was in retrograde, so she couldn't make the new batch until Venus came out of retrograde. So, she takes it seriously, and she's passionate, and her candles smell amazing. And I was just thinking of all these people and how they're, oh, thank you.
You're much taller than me. Is that better?
It's perfect. Thank you. So I was thinking about how, please come in and sit down. Come in and sit down. I was thinking about how all these people gather every Saturday, and thousands of people from all over the Detroit area, and I kept going back and forth between Las Vegas and what I was experiencing in my hometown now. And then I started to think about other communities in my life, my family, for instance, the friends that I've chosen in my life, for instance. And yes, one human being can cause so much pain and so much agony and so much grief, and still, this is one human being, and if we all collectively think about the worlds that we're creating for ourselves, and when we remember that we're going out into our communities and the people that we're interacting with on a day-to-day basis, this is what's going on in our world, really. And it was just a reminder to me that when we feel overwhelmed by this planet and how dark and violent and divisive it can be, and it is, it's also really, really beautiful. And that beauty I found in my life is experienced most profoundly through the connections that I've made with other human beings on this planet. And all we need to do is remember, when we're feeling paralyzed and when we're feeling like we can't make a difference, step outside your door and just engage with your neighbors, engage with the people of your community, and do so with kindness. Because the other thing I've been thinking about so often lately, in great part because of the world we're living in and because of the country we're living in, For a second, I was like, wait, am I in Vancouver and does this apply?
Yeah.
We're in this country. We're in the United States. So we are all affected by the division. We're all affected by the way that so many of us are choosing to communicate with each other. So the word empathy keeps coming up for me all the time, over and over and over. Am I living in empathy in this moment? Am I remembering that no matter who is standing in front of me, no matter who is choosing to make a comment on Facebook, and however that comment affects me or offends me or enrages me, am I still taking the time to remember that this is another human being? Am I taking the time to consider for even 15 seconds, what is it like to walk in that person's shoes? What might their struggle and their experience look like to get to the point of them typing that message that enrages and offends me? And here's the thing, when I take the time to do that, it doesn't mean I condone what's being said. It doesn't mean I agree with anything that's being said in that moment. But it means that I can show up to that conversation with the awareness of another human being on the other side of it. And I can choose through that awareness not to add my hatred and fuel whatever else to the hatred that I might be feeling from their comment. You know, we can't own how other people choose to show up, but we can take full ownership of where we stand in this world. And am I showing up with love? Am I showing up with compassion? Am I showing up with empathy? And if not, why am I bitching about everyone else who isn't showing up with those things? You know, where's my right to complain if all I have to offer is more poison for the dialogue? So, and that said, I don't want to pretend in any way I'm always loving and always, you know, empathetic. Like sometimes I'm not. Let's put it that way. Sometimes I'm an asshole, and sometimes I'm really angry and really impatient, and sometimes I say things I wish I hadn't said, because we're all human and we all do that. But I'm incredibly committed to love as the guiding force in my life, and because I'm committed to love, I know I'm going to find my way back there, and I'm incredibly committed to taking ownership of how I'm showing up. So when I am showing up like a jerk, I do my best to own it at some point, even if it's not in the moment, you know, the next day, a few hours later, whatever, to take responsibility for how I'm showing up so that I can then get myself back to that loving space. And I really believe that this is how we make change in this world. This is like, when I write, I wrote Big Love, and I talk a lot about love, and when I'm talking about love, I'm talking about the energy of love. I'm talking about that base note energy that feeds everything good in this world. Like kindness, which is just love in action. Compassion is just love in action. Forgiveness is just love in action. Authenticity, which is self-love. When we're loving ourselves, we feel free to be authentic. It's all love in action. So that's what I've learned in my life, that when I'm tuned into that energy, when I'm making choices from that place, I know with certainty that what I have to offer the world is pure and powerful and positive. I know it. And we are all empowered in the same way. There's nothing I have to offer the world that everyone in this room doesn't have to offer the world. The beauty of that is, however you all have to offer it is going to be unique to you. So when you're living in your authenticity and you're presenting yourself from that place, the gift that you give our world is going to be unique and beautiful and yours. And I also believe that we need it. We need each other's gifts. We need each other to show up with love, with authenticity, in our truth, and be willing to share whatever it is we're inclined to share from that place. So I encourage you all, when you're feeling hopeless, and it's easy in moments to feel hopeless, and I feel hopeless in moments, and overwhelmed and powerless, I just want to remind you that your power lives in your kindness. Your power lives in your love. Your power lives in your potential to walk outside your door at any point and be this messenger of love to others in the world. Because when we operate from that space, we create a space for others to operate in that way as well.